The day I bought the ticket, I wasn't thinking about changing my life. I was just trying to get through another long, quiet afternoon. At 68, silence had become a permanent part of my world. My husband had been gone for 5 years, and since then, the house felt too big, too empty. Every corner held memories, and sometimes those memories felt heavier than loneliness itself. I walked into the small corner shop near my house, picked up bread, milk, and a few things I didn't really need. As I turned to leave, my eyes landed on the lottery machine. I hadn't played in years. It always felt like a waste of money. But that day, something made me stop. Just one, I murmured to myself. I bought a single ticket and slipped it into my purse, not thinking much of it. That night, I sat in front of the television, half watching, half lost in my thoughts. When the lottery numbers started appearing, I casually reached for my ticket. At first, I checked without much interest. Then I noticed the first number matched. Then the second. Then the third. By the fourth number, my heart started beating faster. By the fifth, my hands began to shake. When the final number appeared, I stopped breathing. All 6 numbers matched. For a long moment, I just stared at the screen, then at the ticket, then back again. My mind refused to accept what my eyes were seeing. I checked again. And again. And again. It didn't change. I had just won $87 million. But instead of joy, something else filled my chest. Fear. Because the first thought that came into my mind wasn't about what I would buy or where I would go. It was about my son, Daniel. The next morning, I woke up hoping it had all been a dream. But the ticket was still there, resting exactly where I had placed it the night before. My hands trembled as I picked it up again. This time, the reality settled in. My life had changed, and I wasn't ready for anyone to know. I took out an old jewelry box, one my husband had given me many years ago, and placed the ticket inside. Then I hid it in the back of my closet, behind things no one ever touched. I didn't call anyone. Not my friends. Not my relatives. And especially not Daniel. He hadn't always been this way. There was a time when he would visit every week, when he would sit at the kitchen table and talk to me for hours, when he cared about how I was doing. But over the years, something had changed. Every conversation had slowly started revolving around money. At first, it was small amounts. Then bigger ones. Then urgent requests. I just need help this one time, Mom. I'll pay you back, I promise. I have no one else. I had believed him every time. And every time, I was wrong. So instead of telling him, I made a different decision. I contacted a lawyer. Her name was Ms. Carter. She was calm, sharp, and listened carefully as I explained everything. She didn't interrupt. She didn't react with surprise. When I finished, she simply nodded. You did the right thing by coming here first, she said. Together, we moved quickly. The money was secured, accounts were created, and everything was placed under careful protection. Nothing was left exposed. When she asked me if I planned to tell my family, I hesitated. I thought about Daniel. About the way his voice had changed over the years. About the way he looked at things not with appreciation, but with calculation. No, I said quietly. Not yet. For the first time in a long time, I felt safe. But that feeling didn't last. 2 weeks later, Daniel showed up at my door without warning. I hadn't heard from him in months, yet suddenly he was standing there, smiling too quickly, stepping inside before I could even fully greet him. Mom, he said, giving me a brief hug. Something felt off immediately. His eyes moved around the house, not warmly, but critically. He looked at the walls, the furniture, the floors, as if he were evaluating something. You should really update this place, he said. It's kind of old. I forced a small smile and asked how he had been. He didn't answer directly. Instead, he started pacing, running his hand through his hair like something was bothering him. Then he stopped and looked at me. I need money. The words came out flat, direct, without hesitation. I felt a familiar heaviness settle in my chest. How much? I asked quietly. 50,000. He said it like it was nothing. I can't, I replied. His expression changed instantly. The warmth disappeared, replaced by irritation. What do you mean you can't? You're sitting here in this big house, doing nothing. This is my home, I said softly. And I'm your son, he snapped. Something in his tone felt different this time. Colder. After that day, things changed quickly. The calls became more frequent. At first, they sounded like concern. Then they turned into reminders. Then pressure. He began showing up more often, sometimes without even calling first. Each time, he walked through the house like he was inspecting it, opening doors, looking at things, making comments. "You don't need a house this big," he said one evening. "It's too much for you." "I manage just fine," I replied. "You could sell it," he continued. "Move somewhere smaller. Easier." "And this house?" I asked. "We'd sell it," he said. That word stayed with me. We. Not you. We. That was the moment I realized something had shifted in his mind. He wasn't asking anymore. He was planning. A few days later, I went out to visit a friend and came back earlier than expected. As I approached the house, I noticed his car parked outside. I hadn't told him I would be gone. A strange feeling crept into my chest as I unlocked the door and stepped inside quietly. That's when I heard voices. Daniel's voice. And another man's. "Once the paperwork is signed, everything is finalized," the man said. "I'll handle her," Daniel replied calmly. My heart began to pound so loudly I thought they might hear it. I moved slowly toward the living room and stepped inside. Both of them turned, startled. On the table were documents. Official-looking documents. I didn't need to read them to understand. They were property papers. "My house." "Daniel?" I said, my voice shaking. "This isn't what it looks like," he said quickly. But it was exactly what it looked like. "Were you trying to sell my house?" I asked. He sighed, as if I were the one being unreasonable. "Mom, you're overreacting. Answer me." He hesitated for a second. Then he shrugged. "You're not really using it properly anyway." Those words hit harder than anything else he could have said. "This is my home," I whispered. "And I'm your son," he replied sharply. "Everything you have is going to be mine eventually." Something inside me broke in that moment. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. Completely. The next morning, I called my lawyer. Within days, everything changed. The house was placed into a protected trust. Legal safeguards were established. Every possible path Daniel could take was closed. This time, I wasn't reacting. I was protecting myself. When Daniel came back again, I didn't argue. I didn't shout. "I've secured everything," I told him calmly. His eyes narrowed. "What does that mean?" "It means this house isn't something you can touch." "You don't trust me?" he asked. I looked at him for a long moment. Then I answered. "No." That single word ended everything between us. After that, he stopped calling. Stopped visiting. Stopped pretending. The silence returned to the house. But this time, it didn't feel heavy. It felt peaceful. I began to live differently. I traveled quietly, saw places I had only ever imagined, helped people without anyone knowing. I didn't need recognition. I didn't need attention. I needed peace. And I finally had it. I never told Daniel about the $87 million. He never found out. And maybe that was for the best. Because money doesn't change people. It reveals them. And sometimes, the most valuable thing you can gain in life is the clarity to see who someone really is. And the strength to walk away when you finally do.